E'Claire Makery Podcast. I am the host, Claire Goodale, and I am so excited to have you on the show today. So go ahead, introduce yourself, and share a little bit about your business and who you are and how you got started crocheting and knitting.
So hi, thank you, Claire, for having me. And I'm Tanya Pepinito, and I'm at Pink Plumeria Maui. My website is Pink Plumeria Maui. My account handles are Pink Plumeria Maui, and I crochet. I'm actually coming up in about 2 weeks. I'll be crocheting for 5 years, which is pretty cool. And then I started.
Oh, so exciting.
Yeah, my mom was out here 5 years ago, and that's when she taught me how to crochet. Just simple like chain and double crochet, single crochet. And then I taught myself to knit in November, and then last fall I started carving crochet hooks out of wood from locally sourced wood. And yeah, so I've had my blog up going for about a year too. So which is nice because I'm gonna get back into doing that more. I kind of took a break for a while. Blogging is a lot of work.
It is. It's so much work. There's a reason why people get intimidated, but it's really fun. I love doing it.
Yeah, I do too. And like, it's definitely a full-time job of its own. So I'm just getting to where I can jump back in and add more stuff and link more stuff and do more blog posts. And it's just a good way to be able to share. It's a general platform. So, but that's me. And yeah, thank you for having me today.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you. We got started being gift swap partners, and I love how like when I first found you, I think you were at like 5,500 followers, and now you're at over 10,000. And it's been so fun. Our friendship developed and all of that, and I still have some of the stuff that you sent me like in my house, even though it's like some Christmas stuff, but I still have it up because it's so cute.
I had to tuck your stuff away with my Christmas stuff so the kids didn't get it and destroy it, but it's all safe in a safe place. Yes, it's been since December, which is amazing. It's only like 3.5 months ago.
Yeah, it's crazy how time has flown so fast. And I've loved seeing how you've started doing hand carved hooks, which is what our topic is today. And I think it's a big craze that's going on in the crochet world, and not many people do it, and that's what makes it really unique. And I love how you are using the wood for Maui, which adds a even more unique thing to your hooks. So how did you get started with carving? Because I feel like that's a really lost art that not many people do.
It is. And so I got into carving crochet hooks out of curiosity. About 2 years ago, my friend, one of my really good friends here, her daughters go to Waldorf school. And here in the Waldorf school in first grade, they go scavenging for wood, and the kids get to pick out their sticks. And then the teachers carve them knitting needles. So that's their tools. They don't buy knitting needles. The teachers carve them. So I'm
so awesome. I wish schools here did that.
Well, they might do.
I'd love to learn.
Waldorf that's one of their philosophies is to teach the kids to like crochet and knit early on kindergarten. They start finger knitting in kindergarten. And so, I mean, I knew that they did that, but because I wasn't a knitter at the time, but the crochet hook, I'm like, oh, how amazing would it be to carve my own crochet hooks? Because when I first started crocheting, I bought a set of bamboo, like a cheap bamboo set, and they were horrible. They were just really poorly made, and it wasn't like I got my refund and they just said keep them, but I got the curiosity has always been like there. And then about a year ago, I started getting more active on Instagram again and focusing more on my business. And I came across Christina at Miramar Woods and her hand carved hooks. and I had gotten a few, and they're amazing. She's so talented, and she really inspired me again. And it was after Christmas and Christmas time. I really we go foraging for wood, and I make wreaths. So it's like that was all very fresh. And as a child, my dad did a lot of carving, so he had made me a lot of really beautiful things that a jewelry box, a beautiful hand carved jewelry box, and some other little things. So it wasn't until the fall, and I was like, no, I should try this. Like I had also connected with Rue at Hand Carved Hooks, and she's just so amazing as well. And again, like that curiosity was just there. So I just started doing my own research and searching around. And Maui is a place of a lot of abundance and a lot of varieties. And we go up to the forest a lot and go hiking because I have my 4 boys. So I had asked my husband, hey, like he's got tons of utility knives, and I'm not a knife person, so I had to do a little bit of soul searching of like, okay, I mean, I use knives for cutting vegetables and cutting food, but I'm not like, my husband always has a utility knife on him or something, that's for work, for being convenient. So I was always afraid, I think I was going to cut myself because it is a little dangerous.
Yes.
I'm a little clumsy.
Same here.
Yeah. So I just, I don't know, something just clicked, and I was like, I'm going to try this. And we were up, in the fall time, we were up and our neighbors have mango trees. And so we had stopped and picked some sticks up from mango trees. And I was like trying to hand saw them and cut them down. And anyways, it was such a learning process. My husband, I'm like, can you teach me how to use a cordless hand saw, which a circular saw, which I had gotten him one the previous year for Christmas. He's like, yeah. So it really just took like curiosity and learning how to use some tools, specifically power tools and knives, which is definitely more not my style, but in a way it is. And once I did that and I started playing around, I was like, wow, I can do this. And I have a variety of crochet hooks, and there are not a lot of videos online to explain how to do it. There's none really. There's only a few.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to trial and error and wing it. So I had some of the experience as a child too. Like it was definitely more osmosis, like memories, like, oh, I remember my dad doing this, or holding a knife a certain way, or carving a certain way. So that did help. Yeah. I think that's why there's not too many people that can do it, because there I would think a lot of people can do it that are not doing it, because there's not a lot of how to, like, DIYs on YouTube and whatnot. And so a lot of it
I know, because I've like tried to like look into some of that stuff, and there's just like nothing out there. I feel like if you don't know someone who's already carved, or like your family or something, then it feels too intimidating to even try to do that.
And carving's a big deal here in Hawaii, because they make the tikis. So you have a lot of there's a lot of variety of wood, and there are a lot of Hawaiians and men that do, they make the little ones, they make like 5-7 foot ones, make turtles. Just amazing wood carving is here in general. So I've been exposed to that in the last 14 years, constantly. Like they're at the mall, they're sometimes they sell them on the side of the road. And so that's always been, intriguing too, because we have a lot of wood source here, but then we have a lot of very talented people that are very inspiring. So it's fun to put that particular craft of carving into like crochet and knitting, because I mean, that's what was used hundreds of years ago. There wasn't, that people took bones and took wood and made
shift that's happening of trying to be more sustainable using the resources that we already have out there, and making, like, seeing how you can make beautiful things out of the stuff that you already have, like, in your back or around you, like with doing like natural dyes with yarn dyeing. It's really cool. Or making the hand carved hooks. I think that's really awesome. Have you found that, like, living in Hawaii has really inspired that sustainability, and just seeing it in your culture around you? Have you found that's, like, encouraged you and pushed you to want to do this even more?
Oh, absolutely. That's a huge part, because I'm outside so much and connected to nature on a daily basis. I cannot drive to the store without seeing and being inspiring, but also that there is a big consciousness movement here of the reduce, reuse, recycle. And I am like that already to begin with. And it's been neat to see that come more and more evolving. Like, one of the things they're trying to do here is ban plastic bottles. They just passed banning styrofoam containers for takeout. We were one of the first 4 counties in the whole U.S. to ban plastic bags.
Yeah, I think where I grew up, in San Luis Obispo, California, that was another one that was one of the first ones to do it. Yeah.
Yes. So you definitely, my outside influences, my childhood and my current outside influences were huge. And it's even something I thought of when I first started crocheting, was like, wow, I would love to be able to make my own hooks. It's just like, and the same thing, like for me, I can't get a lot of yarn here, and not a lot of companies ship here. And so I went through the whole process of like, well, so I used a lot of cotton for a long time, and cotton is really nice. However, it got too hard to use for my hands. So I switched over to trying to use like merino wool and more, and I can use it. It does not bother my hands whatsoever. And it's actually okay for here weather-wise. People think, well, wool, and the way that wool is made now, it's actually definitely more breathable, and you can get lighter weights. So it's been easier to buy bare wool and skeins and then dye it myself, because I can't afford the shipping from some of the bigger retailers.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely always thinking about sustainability. When we did our first, because I homeschool my boys, so when I got that, like, hey, let's go look for sticks, my kids were so excited. And we went and we found a whole bunch of sticks. We went specifically looking at the, we have a forest, and it's a eucalyptus forest, and my friend just lives right outside of it. So we went over to her house, and she's got all these huge eucalyptus trees and tons of mosquitoes. That's the thing. We have tons of mosquitoes here, but we were picking out sticks and what are we going to take home. I had no idea like what I was even, so I kind of knew what I was looking for. And then getting home, and my other son, my second oldest son, helps me hold the sticks so that I can cut them, and helps me measure them. And that was like the first go around. And there's just so much. It was a family thing. It was the sustainable thing. It was going to where we like to go. And then when I made something out of it, well, here we call it mana. It's the energy in which you put into something, like chi, like that's like in Chinese culture, like that your chi is your inside. So here we call it mana. And that's like, so I feel, I feel like that whenever I'm making a hook. I did my first like batch, and so like I think I posted 9 of them, and that was about 5 weeks ago, and I did sell out, which I was, at first you're so nervous, but then it was so neat to see them go to different homes. 2 of them went to Sweden. Yeah.
Oh, that's so awesome. And then I've loved getting to see them pop up in different people's feeds, and it's so great. Like, I love how I think that's something that's so awesome about the maker community, is we're able to just be like, oh, I'm so excited that my friend made a sale, because we all know how hard it is actually get people to buy our products. So I was so excited to see like your stuff was getting out there. It was awesome.
It is. It's a little nerve-wracking too, because you put so much of your heart and soul into it. And for me, So when people ask me, one of the questions I get asked a lot is how long does it take to make a hook? And it can take like a good 2 to 4 hours depending. You know, because sometimes you're working and then something you always, I mean, it's just like any project, you can run into difficulties. I've gotten better at, we just had a ton of rain, and so I did that first batch, and then I wanted to do another batch, but we had like we had the wettest and coldest winter on record in Maui, in history, and like recorded history.
We had that here in California too. Like, we're not in a drought technically anymore in California. It was just like raining like a couple times a week, and everyone was just like, what in the world is happening right now?
Yeah, it snowed on top of Haleakala, and usually it melts the next day, and it stayed for a week, like, because we had gotten like 2 storms. Yeah, so it was, and it was the lowest recorded elevation too, and so I couldn't go. So I go up to the, not all the way up to, because Haleakala goes up to 13,000 feet. I only go up to like probably 3,000 or 4,000 feet where the forest is. But it was just raining. I'm like not gonna drive up there in the rain. And so finally towards the end of that, like it was like, I think it was 3 going on 4 weeks, and we had a little bit of drizzle here and there, and I'm like, okay, we're going. And it felt so good. It was drizzling a little bit, but I was able, and since we had the storms, a lot of, there was sticks everywhere, and I was able to grab some, and I only could fit so much in my car. And so that's what I'm working with now, is I have a nice little batch of that I'm gonna start working on. Actually, what I do so is I'll show you. These are some of the bigger pieces. I actually cut a couple of bigger pieces because I want to make some wall hangings. But this is just like the eucalyptus. This is the end. It's thick. And I'll probably use these for wall hangings. Teresa just came out with her knitted wall hangings that I'm going to make. And but then the other thing I also started doing is I got requests for Tennessean crochet hooks, and because I had made the one, so this one I made out of pine from our Christmas tree, our neighbor's Christmas tree, and the pine is nice. I let it sit. I have these other 2 ones that I'm gonna start, but the rest of the pine that I have, I let it sit in the sun too long, and they all warped. So I had a whole bunch. But what I did is I had gotten a couple requests for Tennessean, so I went up and I found some eucalyptus sticks that I can use for Tennessean hooks. So I made one. Great. I have to make another one. Annie and Gurumi in Hong Kong, she's going to get one. And
awesome.
Yeah. And so I also, I'm alwaase looking around. So here we don't, if you cut your trees back or whatever, you don't put your trash down on the curb. Like we have trash, but we have a green recycling here. So you take your cutbacks, either people compost them or you take it to the green recycling, because the rubbish here, if it doesn't fit in your rubbish, you cannot just put your rubbish out on the street.
Yeah.
So my friend, she lives with her husband and his family, and they live on like an agricultural property. So they live like on an acre with all these different fruit trees and banana trees. So they have a star fruit tree. Have you ever eaten a star fruit?
I feel like the last time when my family visited Hawaii like 4 years ago or something, I feel like I probably had one, because they're kind of similar to kiwis, right? Okay, yeah, then I think I did have one. It was in
they're shaped like a star, like when you cut them up, it's a star. It's got the seeds in them, like tiny seeds in the middle, but it tastes like an orange. They're very bitter and tart. But yeah, it's so they were, her father-in-law was cutting back a star fruit tree, and I had gone to my friend that makes my lepo'os, my flower crowns, and her father-in-law, so I was like, hey, I'm like, Uncle, what are you cutting back? And he's like, oh, the star fruit tree. And I was like, can I look at the sticks? He's like, yeah, go ahead. So I was just, this is actually starfruit wood. And I didn't take very much at the time because he didn't have a lot of thins. He was cutting up a lot of thicker. I just took like 1 or 2 thinner branches. But like I was playing around with it yesterday and cutting and stripping it. And it's actually a really dark wood, like mango wood. It's pretty. Yeah, so it's fun because that is like the uniqueness of what I have here to what I can play around with. And then we also have the jacaranda trees here. We have they're just about
have you been successful with those yet? We're figuring out.
Yes, I did. I the couple that I made, though, they all sold. And I actually in the process of in between rainstorms and going up country, I found some thinner ones. So that was the tricky part, was to find some thin ones that were a little bit, because it's a really hard wood. Let's see, what do I have right here? And here, this is it. This is actually, so I found ones that are thinner and not so thick. It's really pretty. Like this is it's been the whole just trying to source and figure out and find the right size. It's been really fun. And then I just went to a friend's house this past week, and they have trees on their property, and I was able to get a really nice avocado stick, which is really hard. That's why certain woods are so expensive. Like when we certain companies, or even if you go to a store and you see something that's made in a certain wood, they're expensive for a reason, because they're really hard to find, even just sticks. So I just got a really nice avocado one that I could probably break down to 3 or 4. And awesome. I got a clipping of macadamia nut. It's a fresh clipping, so I've got to let it sit before I strip it back. And she's like, because she has 3 huge trees. She's like, take whatever you want. I'm like, no, I'm just going to take a small clipping, and then if I want to come back, I'll take a couple other clippings. Because basically, she pay people to prune their trees, and I'm like, hey, can I come prune your tree for free?
Yeah.
They're like, okay, sure, but I only do it for friends of I'm like are comfortable and feel like, hey, do you mind if I come on your property? Because trespassing here is a really big thing too. You don't trespass on people's properties at all. You don't take something without asking. It's just one of like those like quiet rules that you just don't do here, because everybody has a lot of abundance. Like we have mango trees and avocado trees, and everybody has them, but you don't go on people's property and pick mangoes or avocados or even starfruit or citruses. So as time's going by, I'm starting to get a little bit more sourcing in, which is fun. I have a quarter of a box filled that I'm gonna start playing with now that the days are getting longer and make more. But basically, so what I did is I started with utility knives, and that they're great to use, like if you watch some videos on YouTube, but they're also really dangerous because they get dull so fast.
Oh, yeah. So then they like slip and stuff, and
yeah. And so I just invested in like this is a chisel, this is a carving knife, and
do you just get those on like Amazon or online?
Yeah.
Okay.
For me, I find everything on Amazon because of where we live. I let my husband sharpen them for me. It's not very hard to sharpen them, but my husband's really good at sharpening the knives. So I'm just every like couple days, if I'm using them a lot, it's like, hey, honey, can you sharpen my knives for me?
I would be so nervous to do it because like you said earlier, you're clumsy. I'm really clumsy. I like told my husband, I kind of want to try like hand carving hooks, and he was like, let's not. Because knowing me, and I was like, knowing me, I'd probably cut my hand off somehow.
Or you just like stab yourself and have to go to the emergency room and get some stitches, which he's probably like, honey, I don't want to take you to the emergency room.
Yeah.
I'm good in the sense of that. I have stabbed myself once.
We're like, we don't need that.
Yeah, no, I wear gloves. Like I wear gloves, and I even stabbed myself through gloves. once. And once you stab yourself, you don't want to stab yourself again because it hurts.
Oh,
and it was an accident.
So true.
And it was, I knew what I was doing and I shouldn't have done it. And I did it anyways. And then sure enough, I stabbed the side of my finger. And I mean, it wasn't bad enough. I needed a stitch. I have enough first aid background to take care of it, but it still hurts for a while because it's like a little puncture wound.
Yeah.
So
when you start with like doing the carving, do you like kind of pre-cut your sticks to the size that you want them to end up as?
You have to. Like I have pruners for smaller ones, like smaller, but this only goes, a pruner will, even these are pretty strong pruners. Like if you go to Home Depot, they have pruners you can get the big ones, like the big clipper ones.
Oh,
but I'm not
in
my little bag. So I have like the biggest pair of pruners you can get that's like for gardening wise. But yeah, so that's the other trick is that you can't cut through sticks, like certain sticks. Like you can't cut through that. It's hard to see, but cannot. So there is either a hand, like a good old fashioned hand saw will work, or a table saw. And so I'm definitely safety is a big part, but yeah, I wouldn't be able to have a box of sticks to carve without having some type of a power tool. Even if I did it with a handsaw, which I tried to in the beginning, it was virtually impossible because that itself became dangerous because you're trying to hold a stick and use a handsaw. And I'm just not gonna cut myself with the saw because I don't want to hurt myself. So I had my husband teach me how to use his saw, and we have a setup that's safety, and that my son can help me. And then I usually do it in batches because I have neighbors and they're gonna hear the saw for a while. So I do it like a time of the day that's, I know I'm not going to be disturbing a bunch of people, and I do a batch. So like right now I have a decent batch that probably can last me another 2 or 3 months. And then it's so hard not to collect more sticks because I'm always looking and collecting, but then I just work through what I have. And I just got I have a couple I need to make for pre-existing orders. And so what I started to do is I was going to do only make like sizes that I could make from wood. But then I kind of changed it up a bit and took custom orders because I wanted to be able to offer what would people want, like what are you going to use? And so that's been like 50-50 as I've been making them to what I can make per size, but then also taking custom orders. The custom orders do take a little bit longer because if I'm working with something like they break, like you the ratio of making a sticks to what comes out as a hook is probably like 50-50 because you can get to a point where they do break when you're making them, and then you're like, well, that's gonna break because it's not gonna work, but then you have to start all over again. So that's why you see there's different varieties. There's also people that make the crochet hooks on, I think it's called a spindle, where you put them on and then there's a machine that spins them, and they look absolutely very elegant and very perfect. And they're still very costly because you're paying for the wood. Because wood is expensive. And then the hand carving is just different because you're actually carving it and shaping it and sanding it and finishing it. And so there's and
I think it gives it that like really raw, like really unique look because you are hand carving it, which I think is so cool. So when you start carving, how do you usually, like, do you begin where you kind of shape the handle, or do you shape the head of the hook first? How do you start?
I strip them first because wood is very interesting. It can look absolutely perfect from the outside, but then once you strip it, you can find cracks. So that's it. And you wouldn't think about that. And then you can work with cracks. So that they do is they have like little hair lines on some of them. And then some of them are just very like minor, like a little hairline, but some of them will run to the core, and then oh well, I can't use that. So for example, this is, let's see, this is a eucalyptus. I can tell by, and so I don't know if you can see. I'm trying to be safe because I don't have gloves on.
Yeah. If you move it a little bit to your right, there you go.
Is when I strip it.
So you're just removing like the outside, layer.
Bark. So this is what you would see if once it was finished and it was sanded and it had a nice wax on it. And then this is the actual bark. And I work with hardwood. Most all carvers, we work with hardwood because if softwood just wouldn't work. It would just break. And so what you do is you have, how could I show you this? So here's 1, 2, and I don't know if so this is the difference between similar but same. I don't know if you can see this. So the one on the right is a eucalyptus. The one on the left is a star fruit. And in the middle, you can see there's a core. And that core it can either be soft or hard.
Okay.
So, for example, we have an abundance of fruit trees here. We have kukui nuts, which are similar to mac nuts, but you use them to make oil, like kukui nut oil for your skin. Variety of fruits. So you don't know until you cut or break it and you look inside what you're going to find.
And does like the same type of tree, do the branches kind of differ? Like sometimes you might find an okay eucalyptus one, sometimes you won't find a good one.
Eucalyptus is like very efficient. It's like spot on pretty much any part of the tree. Even mango. So what I found with mango wood is that the closer you are to the tree and the more you use the trunk of the tree, the wood's that's like if you were to go and buy like something fancy made out of mango wood, it's probably coming from the trunk. So what happens with mango sticks is a lot of the water and the nutrition goes to the fruit, so the inside of the sticks rot. They like basically just like disintegrate. And then bugs can get them and stuff. Wow. So with fruit trees, it's totally different. Same with avocado, but avocado is a really, really hard wood. Like really hard wood. And so it's the same as when you get to the outer thinner branches, they basically rot on the inside because all the nutrition and everything goes to the plants or to the fruit or vegetable. I think avocado is a fruit. And so so I am known for pulling over and finding a stick and breaking it open and is it usable? Is it not usable? I try to use what I can find. Like I said, I have a few friends that will let me come over and prune their trees. But I love eucalyptus. Eucalyptus is just a really special type of wood because it's so beautiful, abundant. It comes out super soft. But like even pine is nice. But it's hard because it's just like kind of softwood, and then as it dries, it does warp a little bit. It's a really wet wood when you strip it back. So we have a beautiful pine forest here with so much pine, but I can't really use a lot of it. So it's kind of sad. But that's why you don't see a lot of pine carved hooks. You tend to see like maple, cedar, eucalyptus. There's a reason why there's a certain variety that you find because those are the varieties that work.
I was gonna say, so when you are like, when you're carving, does kind of the wood almost like tell you basically what shape it is going to be able to be made into or not?
Totally, completely. That's like the fun of it. It can be a little frustrating, but that is totally exactly like, for example, so this is the star fruit again, and you can see it's all flat and funky at the bottom. So I have to make this side the hook.
Oh, yeah.
And then
so it's like I'm not gonna do anything else.
No, because you couldn't, like, it just would
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
It would not work. But it's got like this really cool handle on it. So this one I'll probably keep for myself once I get it done because I love the color of it.
Okay.
But yeah, you have to kind of talk to the wood and say like, hey, what you want to be today? Even like this one is a eucalyptus, and it's straight, and then it kind of has this little curve at the bottom. So again, like if I always hold it like I'm going to crochet, and I try to imagine like if I'm a left-hander and I'm going to crochet, that it would feel the same way. And then that's how I can determine what side and what direction, and then yeah, because that would be the way I would use it, so it would be naturally for any crocheter to be able to use. Yeah. I haven't gotten too much into making knitting needles. I've made a couple double pointed knitting needles, and they're fun. The challenging is finding two sticks that match each other. So
true.
That's going to be a summer project for us, because my second to oldest son started knitting a little bit, and then he took a break. Cool. And almost every day he's asking me, Mommy, will you make me knitting needles? And so that, I know, is really sweet. And I'm like, okay, well, we have to go find sticks that match each other. Yeah. So I think that's going to be our summer project, is to do some more hunting for smaller sticks that match each other, and make some knitting needles. So I think it would be so fun to make knitting needles. Like, that
would be so cool to be able for him to be able to say, oh yeah, my mom made these for me.
Yeah. And he wants to use super bulky yarn. So like, I know I have to make because he has like specific yarn that I taught him to work with, that he feels comfortable using. So I'm like, okay, yeah. So we have that's our summer project, is very specific tasks, is to find and make him knitting needles that specifically for him and the yarn that he likes to use.
Oh, that is so fun. I think that's going to be so special. That'll be awesome.
It's yeah, it does happen, and it's a very delicate process. So I form the actual hook either like at night or when it's really quiet, or if my kids are like done all their schoolwork and it's quiet and they're watching TV, and I can sit down and work on it. And if they're talking to me, I'm like, okay, you cannot interrupt me for the next half an hour. I need complete concentration, because if I make one mistake, you're done. Like it's something that you have to be very careful about. Like I use a gauge. This is a slide on gauge, and it helps a lot. So that my gauge is like, I try to make it so that it's spot on and ergonomical as well. And so like when you're forming, I don't have any hooks right now because I had sold them all in my update, and I have not been able to make any this week. But this is the one that I do have. I kept for myself. This is the Tennessean one, and so when you're working, you have to be so delicate. And
especially with those small ones. Like I can't imagine, like when people make ones, like I can't imagine making like a 3 millimeter one that's barely even there already to begin with.
I have my mom gave me my great grandmother's crochet hooks, and they are made out of bone, and they're tiny, and they're probably like 3 mil, like they're very tiny. They're lace crochet hooks.
Wow.
Yeah, and they're itty bitty tiny, and like, I mean, I wouldn't use them because I don't do lace, but they're clearly made for lace, or like lace dollies.
Yeah. I admire all the people who do lace work, because it is so small and it takes forever. Lace work.
And it's hard on your hands too, and that's, I think, but yeah, it's The smallest hook that I've made is an H hook or a 5.0 millimeter hook. I'm tempted. I've just finished a project with using a G hook or a 4.5. And last night in my head is like, you can make a 4.5. You can make a 4.5. Just find the right
totally
stick. You can do it.
My head is telling me
that. So I'm like, okay, maybe I'll try to go down to a 4.5 because just to push myself. And it does get harder the smaller the hook size is. The big, you would think even like, oh, the big chunky ones are easy. No, even the big chunky ones are hard because it's like the same but opposite. You're working with big, but you still want it to look nice. And so the bigger it is, the more you're going to see any errors or imperfections. And it actually takes twice as long to make a big carved hook than you would think, oh, hey, let's make a bigger hook. But it takes twice as long because it's twice as big. It didn't make sense to me, and I totally was baffled when I did a smaller one and a larger one, because in my mind I thought larger, easier, faster. No.
No.
No, exactly. And so I have really enjoyed actually making the Tennessee hooks. Have been so much fun.
And I haven't seen anyone else do that, so I think that's really cool.
Yeah,
you're doing that.
Rue makes Tennessee hooks. She's at hand carved hooks, and she makes them as well. And yeah, no, I wanted to make some out of eucalyptus because it's a little bit harder. So what the tricky part is finding a stick that's thin enough to do it. I made one for Caitlin, and it came out so pretty. So now I'm like, okay, I want to make myself like a whole set. I don't even have time to make myself hooks or sets. So that's my other summer goal, is to make myself a set of crochet hooks and
he's so amazing.
A set of Tennessee hooks that for me, I've not kept, only one I've kept for myself. I've wanted to keep them all for myself, but I haven't. I've only kept this one for myself.
Oh, yeah. So what are some of the, if someone wants to try to start doing hand carved hooks, what are some of the starting points that you would recommend for people to do that?
Well, I think number one is you have to get outside, and see what's available, because you could go and get dowels from the store and try. That definitely could. I don't know how great that would be, because you're not going to get a raw form. You're just going to get a standard circular. Yeah. But if you're wanting to go, you have to see what's available, because every little neck of the woods around the whole world, we all have different trees.
Yeah.
And what's available, is it softwood, hardwood? Is it something you can work with? Can you identify it? That's, I think, number one. And then number two is just having the right tools and being safe. Safety is a big deal. We were kind of laughing about it, but it's you don't want to cut yourself, because it can hurt really bad. And wearing gloves, I wear my safety gloves. I just got some work gloves from Home Depot that I'm comfortable with, that are not too thick, not too thin, not too thick. They do make carving gloves. I just haven't invested in them because they're kind of expensive, but gloves, and if you're going to be working with something that is sharp, just to be really careful. And there are a couple of videos on YouTube. I don't know how helpful they are. They're not great videos, but they are a good starting point to play around. And I think a big part of it is also using your imagination, just how you would want to see it and form it. And
yeah,
and then the simple things that you would need is just sandpapers, you're sanding your and just it's a very delicate process of trying to get the hook to the right spot. There is some people choose to put a veneer or a coat of for finishing. There's natural waxes available.
Mm-hmm.
I made my own because I had the source to do it, and the I had it here already, so I didn't want to go buy it. Not necessary. So I made a beeswax polish, and it smells amazing. And I usually put 2 to 3 coats of polish on. I put one on, I kind of let it sit, and then I put another one on, and then usually if somebody's purchasing a hook, I put another coat on before I mail it off. And it's just more, it doesn't change it, it doesn't add anything to it, it just gives it, it's like if you were to buy a cutting board, and it has that nice little like soft finish on it. Some people like to use a water-based polyurethane. You can do like a water polyurethane, and I don't use a water-based polyurethane only because I find it kind of sticky, like for me personally, but it comes out really pretty and glossy and nice. And yeah, I mean, there's not too much to it. I think it's just a lot of do you have the resources and getting outside and actually trying it? And it's, we were talking about saws, like if you wanted to, you may need to ask somebody for their help if you're not familiar with using a saw, and you find a piece that's a little bit thicker and you measure it and you want to cut it up, whether it be like a dad or uncle or a brother or a husband. If usually it's the men that have the power tools. Some like women, I mean, I know how to use them. I've learned over the years. But be safe, safety, and have fun, and get outside and see what's around you. I wish I lived by where there were oak trees, but I have no oak trees here.
Oh, yeah, there's so many here in California. They're everywhere.
There's like, especially in Northern California, such an abundance of huge, beautiful trees. And here we have
you can even get like the ocean insert, and it's always really beautiful and stuff. You'd have a lot of fun with all the weather.
Yeah, I've driven from like Orange County up to San Francisco a few times, like through Big Sur, and I've stopped in St. Louis. I love it's just really beautiful. It's a beautiful area.
Yeah.
And all the
Well, we are just about done with our time together. I love getting to hear all about this stuff about your family, getting really into it now, and just like your inspiration behind all of this. Is there any last things that you would like to leave our viewers with, to encourage them, or anything at all that you'd like to close with?
I would just say, if it's, like what we were just talking about, if you find something that, whether it be carving or dyeing yarn or whatever you find that inspires you, definitely to follow your heart. That's been my case. Is my journey's gone in different directions, and I didn't listen to my heart for a little while there, and then I did, and this is something that came through, and it's made me so happy. It's been so nice to have something that I don't know, it just gives me pure joy. Like, it's frustrating, it's challenging, it's exciting, and then, but also, like you're saying, it connects my family together. Even my husband helps me out. He wouldn't help me out with crocheting or knitting, but when it comes to carving, he'll help me out in like certain things, and then it gets us outside, and then it's something that I can do, and it's unique. It's one of a kind, and so I would just say, listen to your heart, follow your heart, and if there's something that calls you, that you're afraid to do, or maybe not sure, try it. You don't know until you try, and that's how I was. I didn't know until I tried. It was there. It was always in the back of my mind. Always there for a long time, for like 4 years.
Wow.
And I did it, and I was like, oh, why didn't I do this a long time ago? But it takes what it takes. So that's what you're asking me to say, is if there's something that's there that you want to try, go for it.
Yeah, my next thing that I really want to try is doing yarn dyeing, especially after seeing you do yarn dyeing. I'm like, okay, if she got it down, I can totally do this. Because that's been the thing in the back of my head for a while, because I'm friends with some dyers, and so I see all their beautiful colorways, and I'm obsessed with color. So I've always been that way. So I'm like, okay, I just need to finally sit down and do it, and I want to try and get my husband involved doing it too, because I think he'd really like all the science behind it. So.
Yeah. And
we'll see what happens.
Pure science. That's all. Yarn dyeing is all science. And like me, I was a total chemistry nerd in high school, so it was perfect for me. But then again, like that's another like the sustainability is like when I need 5 colors of the same skein and I can't get it, I'm now to the point where I'm like, I'll just make it myself.
That's so awesome.
It's easier that way. Yeah. I'm about to cast on my first knitting sweater. And so I'm excited. I dyed 5 hanks all the same color, like a tonal color. And I didn't have to wait like 5 weeks for the yarn to come.
That is awesome. That's great. Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Tonya, for coming on the show. It's been so much fun getting to chat with you, and I have just loved having you on here, and I'm so glad that we are friends. It's been such an awesome journey that we've had together so far.
Thank you, Claire. Thank you for having me, and thank you for letting me share my story. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see all of the awesome hooks that you come up with as you keep experimenting.
Yes,
so fun.
Summer's definitely going to be more of a time of abundance and harvest. That's the way it is.
Awesome. We'll have a wonderful rest of your day, and I can't wait to see what you do.
Great. Thank you so much, Claire.
Bye.
Bye. Aloha.
Thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to like it below if you enjoyed watching it, and hit the subscribe button if you never want to miss out a video from me, and also check out my other videos and tutorials on my channel. See you next time.